Hi guys, welcome to The Point. I'm Dave Rubin sitting in for Ana Kasparian as she gallivants across Spain, drinking sangria, eating ceviche. What else do people do in Spain?
They take siestas.
Taking siestas, all that good stuff. We have with us the COO of the Young Turks, Mr. Steve-O, and the producer of TYT 140, Malcolm Fleschner.
That's me.
This is going to be a very verbose episode. What do you think?
Very loquacious.
Very.
This is a really neat show. When did this start? When did we start doing this?
We're very excited. We had a little rebrand here, and it's very exciting.
I heard you guys upgraded your executive producer. Is that correct?
That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me.
Get
All
rid of
right.
Get rid of the dead weight.
We've got a lot for you, and you know on The Point we get to it quick. So really quick, what are we talking about today? Slender Man attacks. Who is this new boogeyman? Justin Bieber. He's trying to cleanse away his racist past with a baptism. A dad hit a teacher with a baseball bat after some inappropriate text messages. The Indiana Jones reboot. Is Disney gonna mess it up? And finally, a new California bill demands verbal or written consent before college kids get it on. Is that right or not? And here we go. Okay, Slender Man attacks. A fictional horror creature known as Slender Man is now linked to 3 violent crimes. We've got some pictures of Slender Man. Kind of freaky. That obviously is not a real picture as far as I know. This is a artist's rendering of Slender Man. Know Your Meme describes the character as a mythical creature often depicted as a tall, thin figure wearing a black suit and a blank face, as you can see right there. According to the legend, he can stretch or shorten his arms at will and has tentacle-like appendages protruding from his back. He first appeared in a 2009 series of images entered into a Paranormal Pictures Photoshop contest. Now, there have been several crimes related to Slender Man just in these last few months. A week after 2 12-year-old girls stabbed their friends 19 times to honor Slender Man, more real-life connections to this mythological creature have been emerging. A man is accused of killing 2 cops and a civilian before committing suicide in relation to Slender Man. And a Cincinnati mom thinks that her daughter may have been inspired by Slender Man when she attacked her with a knife in the kitchen wearing a hood and white mask. Steve, make your point. Slender Man.
It's insane. It's crazy. I'm scared and terrified that someone's going to attack me because of Slender Man.
Malcolm, Slender Man.
I'm not so scared, but I think realistically, honestly, this points to the need for media literacy training for kids nowadays. We still have the kind of education system based in an old system where they study literature and such. We need media literacy to teach kids about the internet and how things aren't real.
Yeah. Yes, you got my point, Malcolm. Not everything you see on the internet is real, people. That's how it is. All right, so my question to you guys, is there a myth that you either believe in or maybe believed in when you were younger? Anything of that nature?
Yeah, the Bible. I used to believe in the Bible, but then I grew up and I stopped believing in it. But Slender Man, the problem with it, is this anything new? I mean, back in the 70s or late 70s, early 80s, people were inspired by the Son of Sam, a guy, and they murdered people. So is this, anything new?
I don't think so. I mean,
people looking for an excuse to murder somebody will have an excuse, and whether it's Slender Man or Charlie Manson or whatever.
Correct.
Copycat murders, the movie Heathers about all those girls in high school doing all those terrible things.
Astrology for the Zodiac Killer. I mean, it's dangerous.
Yeah. Malcolm.
In terms of myths that I once believed in but don't anymore, the female orgasm. I've heard the legends of it. I've heard tell, but my own personal experience does not exist. So I've had to give that up.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said this on camera before, but when I was growing up, and I was maybe 3rd, 4th grade, there was a house at the end of the block that everyone said there was a witch that lived in the house, and we used to see this woman every now and again. She'd come out and she had like one eye was a little bigger than the other eye kind of thing, and she was limping around. She had cats, and I believed there was a witch in the house.
Maybe she was a witch.
Maybe she was a witch, in which case this whole segment went awry. Do you believe in Slender Man? Myths? Do you have any that you used to believe, maybe that you still believe? Let us know in the comments section right down below. 2 videos were released last week on TMZ, one showing Justin Bieber joking about the KKK and one singing the N-word. And what did Justin do to absolve himself of his past sins? Yeah, he got a baptism. That's right, he was literally baptized in a New York City bathtub. Pastor Carl Lentz says he spent a week doing intense Bible study with Bieber and that this was the culmination of their efforts. Malcolm, baptisms, make your point.
I saw that video of Justin Bieber singing about using the N-word, and I have to give him credit. I thought that there was no way to make a Justin Bieber song any worse. But then I saw that video, I'm like, of course, add overt racism. But really, shouldn't we be talking about Justin Bieber more than we are? I mean, just one segment dedicated to him. I think this whole show should be about Justin Bieber, and not just this week, but every week.
I'll see if we can get anything else in there. Steve, make a
So
point.
baptisms, I mean, to me, it illustrates the absurdity and the simplicity and the laziness of religion, that you can simply throw some water on someone's head and it washes away the sin, and they get a blank slate to start over. Is absurd to me.
But it would be pretty sweet if that worked, huh?
Yeah.
That would be pretty sweet. All right, so my question to you guys, is there something you've done in your life that you think could be washed away?
Well, there's this one thing that I did that I actually still think about to this day. I'm deeply ashamed of it. And when I was in law school, very early on in law school, another student asked me to sign a petition. I forget exactly what it was, but something to do with like gay rights and to promoting gay rights. And at the time, I wasn't as enlightened as I am today. And I said no and kind of like ran off. And the reason why I said no was so cowardly. It wasn't because I didn't support gay rights. I mean, at the time, I was either neutral or slightly in favor of it. But I said no and ran away because I was afraid that by signing it, people would think that I'm gay.
Yeah.
Right? How ridiculous. I'm so embarrassed. And she looked at me with kind of this, she looked a little disappointed, a little bit sad. I wish I could go back in the past and just sign it.
Well, that's wild, and that stuck with you for all that time. It's kind of amazing.
But she was
so
only
lame.
disappointed and sad because she thought, oh, he's gay, and she was hot for you. She really was interested in it. Oh,
Yeah.
Malcolm?
You know, things that I would like to have sort of washed away, or I'd actually more like to have them erased from my memory. Not so much my sins, because you know, the racism or homophobia, not so much, but I mean, doesn't everyone experience this? You're just sort of going about your business, driving, and then suddenly some memory from high school will hit you, and it's like, oh, and just cringe. And did I really do that? Do I have to remember that? Is there any reason why I have to carry this with me? So if I can get some sort of eternal sunshine of the spotless mind deal where it just sort of erases, I would say like probably 80% of my high school experience and 100% of my junior high experience.
So you want to wash away something that happened to you, not something that
More
you
things that I did, stupid things that I said.
Benevolent guy.
No, I totally disagree. I think those painful memories partly make up who you are and help shape the future. And you look at the growth.
But I am who I am now. I don't need to keep remembering them.
I agree with Steve on this one. Those things shape you, so it was hard for me to pick one. But when I was doing stand-up once, about 5 years ago, there was this guy heckling me, maybe third row back. And usually with hecklers, I would always play it off. I would just joke out of it. But this guy, I just destroyed him, utterly destroyed him. And I saw a look in his face by the end of it of just like a horribly defeated human. And I actually felt kind of bad. Like, why was I doing stand-up to just destroy a soul?
That's like feeling bad for Eric Cantor.
I guess it doesn't really make...
no.
No, you don't accept that one? You don't accept that?
I absolve you.
If that's the worst thing you've done in your life, you're a good guy.
Thank you for that little trickle of water. I feel much better.
That's all you need.
Guys, do you have any sins that you would like washed away? Anything in your past that you don't want to think about anymore? Let us know in the comment section right down below. A 42-year-old teacher sent inappropriate text messages to a 15-year-old student. The mother felt that these text messages were inappropriate. The school did not agree, investigators did not agree, and never charged the teacher with a crime. The teacher then went to the girl's house to apologize, presumably to the girl and to the parents. And what did the father do? He hit the guy with a bat. Malcolm, make your point.
Listen, is it really a crime for a middle-aged man to send inappropriate text to a 15-year-old girl? Is that so terrible? Because if so, hang on, I got some deleting I got to do quickly here. No, but you know, I was thinking like, as a kid, I never wanted to see my parents and my teachers in the same place at the same time. That was just bad news. Yeah. But imagining this girl, and then the teacher comes walking the door, she's like, oh, this has just gone from bad to much, much, much worse.
Yeah. Steve, your point.
Well, I would do one of two things. I would either do nothing and not hit him at all, or I would go Joe Pesci on him.
Like full on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the one hit with the bat.
No half measures.
Yeah, well, I mean, either it was terrible, in which case he deserves a complete beatdown, or it wasn't that bad, so just calm down and move on. So the single hitting of with the bat seems weird. Like I'm all in or I'm all out.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing here is that investigators found no problem with a 42-year-old teacher sending a 15-year-old girl text messages. Even if there was nothing overtly sexual in it, something ain't right. So as far as the father, if he wants to hit him once with the bat, I think it's okay. In this case, he also, yeah, I mean, he showed up to the house. Have you ever resorted to violence to solve something, Steve?
I have.
Yeah?
I've had a number of altercations, but they're almost always all on the basketball courts. And it's because I don't like hard fouls. I think it's ridiculous. We're not getting paid. We're just having fun. And when people play overly aggressively and physically, and they play dirty, I get really angry. And that's led to a couple of fights. In one instance, I got into a fight with a football player on the Cornell football team. Yeah. And he was much bigger than me. I mean, he was like 6'2" and like just cut. And he was being such a dick. And I told him repeatedly to not play that way. And he did it one more time. So I said to him, if you fucking touch me again, I'm gonna punch you in the face. So then he like just kind of shoves my shoulders a little bit. So then I just said, okay. And I just punched him as hard as I could in the face.
And?
He didn't do anything back.
Really?
Yeah, we just continued playing. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So when I punched him, his head snaps back, and then he's bleeding from his mouth, and I cut open his cheek a little bit. And then his two much larger friends grabbed me and said, hey man, you know, do you want to get your ass kicked? What's going on? I say, look, I got no problems with you guys, but he has to stop being such a dick. And then we just, I don't know, we like just finished the game and he kind of stopped doing it. So I got off lucky.
There you go. Violence resolves problems. Malcolm?
Yeah, this is a good lesson for me because I have not gotten into a whole lot of fights in my life. But this actually what this made me think of is actually corporal punishment because the daughter gets off scot-free. You know, I mean, it takes two to tango, right? No, that's not true. But
way to blame the victim, Malcolm.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But I was thinking that I wonder in this household if violence is the way that the problems are solved, and whether this girl has been subject to her father's angry temper in the past, and that would be sort of an unfortunate side of this story. But I, as a parent myself, I have disavowed. But I was hit as a kid some, nothing you would call abuse, or wasn't called abuse back then, at least not when I called the police about it. But not really. I didn't really call the police on my parents. But no. But I don't.
You're going down a deep hole here.
I refuse to hit my kids over anything. I think it's totally wrong. But I leave the window open for other people's children.
There you go. By the way, before I tell you mine, we were playing basketball this weekend, and I had a breakaway for a game-winning layup, and a guy whacked me real hard, hit one of my nuts, which is still not quite right. And Steve did ream him out pretty good. Did not hit him though, but you were thinking about it.
No, I hate those kind of plays.
Hate those kind of plays.
Total bullshit. Yeah.
I have never resorted to violence. I was trying to think. Wow, I really never once resorted to violence. I did get the shit kicked out of me once, though. In 9th grade, a couple of friends and I were walking out of a McDonald's, and there was a gang in the mean streets of Long Island that I grew up in. There was this known gang, and I wish I rememred DBA. I think maybe it was their.
They even had a name.
Yeah, awesome. DBA, the gang.
Like doing business as? Were they like accountants or whatever?
So my
a gang of accountants from Long Island.
So me, my three friends and I, we played video games like we were not like badasses in any way whatsoever. So my friend Jason had a little Swiss Army knife, so he's like, we'll get them. And he takes out his Swiss Army knife and pulls the blade out, completely as a joke, just internally to us. One of the guys from the thing sees it, and then they just all came and they just kicked the shit out of us.
Wow. So you've had violence resorted to on you.
I've had violence resorted to on me, which is sort of the philosophy that you were okay with on other people's kids.
So don't bring a knife to a fight where you're going to get your ass kicked.
Have better friends, I think, is the moral of the story. Have you guys ever resorted to violence? Let us know in the comment section right down below. There are rumors all over the blogs and tabloids that Disney is going to be rebooting the Indiana Jones franchise, and all kinds of names are being tossed into it, and I think you might see a theme in the names that are being mentioned. Guys like Robert Pattinson, Channing Tatum, Chris Hemsworth, and Bradley Cooper could all possibly be cast as Indiana Jones. Of course, these are all kind of pretty boyish types, and Indiana Jones really is the story of an archaeologist and a college professor who did all this cool stuff. Harrison Ford, a handsome guy. Are we allowed to say that? Can we say that around here, these parts? Are you willing to? Steve's not impressed, doesn't he?
I don't think he's that handsome.
No, don't think he's that handsome. But it does beg the question, is Disney trying to angle this by choosing guys like this, potentially, to make it more of like a tween-friendly thing? Is this for the 13-year-old girls? Malcolm, make your point.
Listen, my choice for this role from the beginning has been the kid who played Short Round in the second Indiana Jones movie.
That was me.
Oh, Mr. Jones! Yeah. That was a young Steve.
That was a young me. That's how I got into this whole media business.
He's got to be grown up now. Dig him up from wherever he is.
Everyone loved that kid. He was in Goonies too.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mr. Jones!
And
that's the pervasive racism of Hollywood that keeps him out. He's a talented actor.
I mean,
He's
you
now
want
the
to
COO of a very successful online news network.
Forget the tweens. Let's go for the Asian market, the burgeoning Asian market. There's 1.3 billion Chinese who could
I should
appreciate
be the new Indiana
Dr.
Jones.
Dr. Jones. Okay. Mr. Jones. Dr.
So
Jones.
long, Lao Che. Yeah, that whole he could do stunts. He drove a car with the blocks on his feet.
Yeah.
He knew karate or something. I think he may have fought a monkey. But the point is. The point is that he's, he knows the franchise.
We're
ready for him.
Everybody liked him.
Short round.
Steve, make a point.
I don't really have a point for this. I mean, I think Harrison Ford was a great cast the first time around because he wasn't a pretty boy. I mean, he seemed like a regular guy.
Yeah.
It's believable, but it's crazy. I mean, Denise Richards was once cast as a physicist in a Bond film.
Yeah.
So why not, these Pattinson and all these pretty boys, and why not them as an archaeologist? It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
My point is this: if Disney has also taken Star Wars, as we know they have, then I gotta have a little faith here. I'm gonna try to have faith in the Disney corporation that they're gonna do this right. So my question to you guys is: has anyone or any company ever taken something from your childhood that you loved and really screwed it up?
Yeah, George Lucas. George Lucas giveth and George Lucas taketh away. Because I remember, so I came to this country in 1977 in March. And within the first week that I was here, I went to watch Star Wars. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And to me, it kind of defined America and why I thought America was great. And as a child, I loved all the original.
That was the ability to destroy a planet with one shot, right?
Yes. So I loved Star Wars. So when the prequels were coming out, there was such an anticipation. And when we went to see it, it was just utter and shocking disappointment because, Jar Jar Binks single-handedly ruined that movie. And I do like to go back every now and then and watch that scene where Darth Maul fights,
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, with a double dong lightsaber, which is super cool.
Yeah.
But other than that one scene, it's been ruined. And Hayden Christensen, just awful.
Terrible.
Just an awful performance. So yeah, it's been ruined. I can't watch even the original ones now. They're all terrible.
Now I really don't know how to feel about my faith in Disney for the future ones if those middle ones are terrible.
He's going to hang himself by the end of this episode. For me, yes, it's the Boston Red Sox. I grew up a Boston Red Sox fan, and they were perennial, not losers like the Cubs, but they were perennial second, like almost. They always lost Game 7 World Series, and they just couldn't win. And you got sympathy as a Red Sox fan because you were like almost, but just not good enough. And now the Red Sox have won 3 World Series in my adulthood. They're just as bad as the Yankees, and everybody hates them like they hate everybody else, or hate the other rich teams that always win. And they've lost some of what made being a Red Sox fan unique.
That's interesting. So by being good, they've let you down.
Yeah.
By winning, you lost. It's like Rosie Perez and White Man Can't Jump.
Yeah. Ooh.
Sometimes when you win, you lose, and sometimes when you lose, you win.
I just want you to sympathize with the feeling of dry-mouthedness.
Well, mine is even more disturbing than Steve's, although I can jump on board the Star Wars bandwagon there. Transformers. Michael Bay has completely ruined it with 3 horrific movies. I already have tickets 2 weeks from now to see the 4th, the opening night, which happens to be on my birthday. Don't let me down, Michael Bay. He took something that had such great childhood lore if you were a kid that grew up in the mid-'80s, and he's turned it into an exploding, disgusting display of awfulness. And if you want to watch a real Transformer movie that's good, watch the original cartoon from 1985. Leonard Nimoy, and the last role for Orson Welles played a voice in that movie. I bet you did not know that.
His greatest role, many said.
Many say his greatest role. Have you had anything from your childhood that let you down? Let us know in the comments right down below. A newly amended bill from a California lawmaker would make college kids stop in the middle of a heat of passion and get verbal or written consent that they're about to do it. Yeah, we've got some more info. Students who want to have sex must essentially establish that there has been an affirmative, unambiguous, and conscious decision by each participant to engage in mutually agreed upon sexual activity. It is the responsibility of the person who wants to engage in initiating the sexual activity to ensure that he or she has the consent of the other person to engage in the sexual activity. Lack of protest or resistance does not mean consent, nor does silence mean consent. So last month, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights released a list of 55 schools that face federal probes into their handling of sexual assault cases. So this obviously has become an issue. Steve, make your point.
Well, I think the point here is that the burden is being shifted. So, in a he said, she said situation, who has a burden? Like if I don't want to do it, do I have the burden of saying no? Or does the person who wanted to do something with me have the burden of establishing the yes? And now the burden's been shifted, so that's what this is all about. Because in reality, no one's going to have these contractual moments in the heat of passion. But the burden is later on, if something happens and someone accuses someone of wrongdoing, you need to get that affirmative assent to continue.
I don't really oppose this. I remember hearing this happening at Antioch College, something like this, like 15 years ago, and the students, they kind of embraced it a little bit. Like, it's we should go with the Sheryl Sandberg lean-in approach to this and make it a part of the romantic dance between, become like The Bachelor, where the man has to hand her a rose and she accepts it, and boom, we're good to go. Although written consent seems like, here, you can write on my back, and then.
I don't think they require written consent.
No, they don't.
It said verbal or written.
Verbal or written, right. So my point's going to be completely the reverse of Malcolm's. This is absolutely absurd and such a sad state of affairs that our country is in. If you have to give verbal and or written consent, you're going to literally have a chart and be like, okay, I'm down for hand job, no blow jobs, and this is hot, and we're going to be kissing, but
no, I think that's totally not the intent. The intent.
No, I don't think it's the intent, but it's a slippery slope.
It's not a slippery slope because there's a risk. You're right. There's a risk that someone's going to say, oh my gosh, I never gave consent, therefore you are now guilty of date rape. But the whole point
I was down for oral, but then we took it a step further,
right?
And I never gave that consent.
I was only down for oral for 2 minutes. You took it for 3 minutes, and the last minute of oral, I didn't consent to that, right? So yes. Yeah. Is this really a problem that we're going to have? How many people are going to sue or
who doesn't want more oral?
3 minutes of oral. What are you, some sort of marathon man?
No. I think the reason why this legislation is being passed or being pushed forward is to create a culture where in the course of having sexual activity, there is this desire or this sense of duty to make sure that you get proper consent. And no one's going to nitpick every single step of the way. And when you come down to it, it will be he said, she said, so prosecuting this will be difficult. So if I allege I didn't give consent for this activity, for me to be prosecuted, that's really tough, right? So it's really to create a culture of getting consent. That's what it is.
Yeah, I understand that. I just think that creating that culture just sort of takes something away that's very human in the process of doing it.
You can embrace it. It can become part of the sexual dance. Absolutely.
You are a cheese ball. Here we go. Have you guys?
Fuck everyone. That's what you want to do.
Pretty much. Have you guys ever had your privacy violated, Malcolm?
As we mentioned, or I mentioned in an earlier segment, like the vast majority of my personal history is also cringeworthy, that I do not want anything publicized. Although I think that nowadays with Facebook and Twitter and the like, we just Instagram, people are violating their own privacy more than it's being violated by other people, except for the government, of course. But the culture is very different, where we're getting to the point where there almost is no privacy that can be violated anymore.
Yeah, Steve?
Yeah, yeah, by my sister. When I was in high school, I had a little stash of porn. And my sister, she freaking came into my room and snooped through it. She found them. And then she blackmailed me for like a year and a half where she's like, I'm going to rat you out unless you drive me to the mall, unless you drive me to my friends. I'm like, damn it. So I had to drive her all around. It was super annoying.
Wow. See, but now, she would have to get consent before screwing you over like that.
Right. Well, short of the NSA, I don't know that I've had my privacy violated, but I do have a great story where I did something very, very ethical. Mr. Ethics, you'll be impressed with what I did here. When I was working at SiriusXM, Michael Musto, do you guys know who he is? Michael Musto is he's basically the biggest gossip columnist in the United States, and he, for the last 30 years, worked for the Village Voice. He moved somewhere, I'm not sure where now. But he left his Facebook open on a communal computer there, and I happened to sit down at it right after. And this is the big, I mean, this guy knows every Hollywood secret there is to know, and his mailbox was open and all his mail, and I had that thought for a minute. Can I just peruse this? Is there some amazing thing that I can find out? You know, who knows? Like, this is a treasure trove of, you know, that's the business that I was in at the time, and cooler heads prevailed, and I just clicked out, and I respected his privacy, and he never thanked me.
Did you alert him?
And I did tell him. No, he did thank me. I told him, and that was that. But so I thought I did something ethical there, unlike your sister.
That's funny because I just recently was on your computer and you had left it open and surfed through all of your Facebook stuff.
There's just nothing even remotely interesting there. Have you guys had your privacy violated? Have you violated someone else's privacy? Let us know in the comment section down below. And again, I'm Dave Rubin. I host the Rubin Report and TYT here on the Young Turks Network. And I'm going to let these two guys pimp themselves out. Steve, talk to the camera.
So I run the business side of the company. I've been friends with Cenk for a long time. He runs the talent, the hosting stuff. That's what he does.
Like whatever the hell it is that they're doing.
So he does content, and I do the business around the content. So that's a short answer to what I do around here.
I'm Malcolm Fleschner. I'm the producer now of TYT 140, which I hope you all will check out. It has a great,
handsome
staff behind the scenes. People, you know,
the host is okay.
Talent is okay. But I also used to be the executive producer of The Point back before it was entertaining.
Ana, we hope you are enjoying your sangria, your ceviche, and your siestas, and we'll see you guys next week.